This is the ICO Alert Podcast, episode 26. I'm your host, Robert Finch, founder of ICO Alert. ICO Alert maintains the only comprehensive list of every single initial coin offering. That includes all of the active ICOs that are happening now, as well as all of the upcoming ICOs. You can check out the full list on our website at ICOalert.com. Now, before we get started on this week's episode, I wanted to go ahead and introduce everybody. So we'll make a couple introductions at the very beginning of this podcast, but this episode's a lot different in that we don't have an ICO guest, we don't have a special guest. We have myself and 4 other members of the ICO Alert team. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, industry news, ICO news, our opinions on different coins and kind of their performance over the last year. As a quick disclaimer, I do want to say that none of the content of this podcast should be construed as financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. We're not giving advice here. We're just talking about some projects and our opinions about those projects. But as a full disclosure, some of the coins that we discuss that some of us own are EOS, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tron, Kin, Walton Coin, Binance Coin, Neo, and Neo Gas. So if you hear any of those mentioned, as a disclosure, we do have some ownership in those. But once again, this is not financial, legal, investment, or tax advice. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you really did, please let us know. We're looking to do a couple more of these in the future. But if you hated it, let us know as well. So without further ado, here is part of the ICO Alert team. So this is a much different episode than you guys are used to in the past. We have a bunch of people on the podcast, everybody from the ICO Alert team. I guess 5 of us in total. So I am Rob, of course. I usually host the podcast, but we also have a couple other people. Let's start with Ryan.
Hey, I'm Ryan Dennis, I'm Client Relationship Manager, ICO Alert.
Zack Casada, VP of Business Development.
Zack G, Data Analyst at ICO Alert.
Mike Finch, COO and co-founder.
Awesome. And I'm the CEO and the host of the podcast. So we're just going to kind of talk about crypto in general, some of our favorite topics. So I think first up is... Gall's been dying to talk about this shitcoin, haven't you?
I love shitcoins. So here's the thing about shitcoins, all right?
Oh, wow.
Here's the thing.
That's a great start.
There's a lot of noobs in this space, and they love shitcoins. They don't know the market like we do. So you got to kind of put yourself in the mindset of the person first getting into crypto. They don't understand market cap. They don't understand circulating supply. They don't understand a lot of things. All they see is how much this token costs.
Right.
So we've seen a phenomenon, like in the last month, of any penny crypto, which is a term I never heard of until probably the last month or two. Mm-hmm. And penny cryptos have been going crazy ever since Ripple.
I mean, what about like even some of the ones that are like fractions of pennies and then, you know.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, up
it's
1,000%.
so stupid. It's like
unless you're holding it, then it's great.
Yeah, I guess. It depends on if you're holding a bag or if you're holding something that's appreciated.
But isn't that the whole theory of Wolf of Wall Street? He's got his big start, penny stocks. So,
yeah, it's part of it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it's kind of like an entry-level place for people to start. It's much easier to buy a $2 token that's Ripple than it is to buy a $20,000 token like Bitcoin.
You're thinking from the perspective of someone who understands crypto.
Quick money.
Yeah.
You're thinking about it from someone who understands crypto. Look at some of the. I'm not going to say they're the top performing coins, but they've done really well in the last month. Ripple, Cardano, Stellar Lumens, Tron. All of these coins have done really well recently.
Why the emphasis on Tron?
All right, guys. A declaration here. I own Tron. not a lot of it.
You don't want to be proud of it.
But I flipped that in December, and I greatly increased my favorite shill coin, which is EOS.
And there it is. It's finally coming out.
It is shill coin. Is that a?
It's a great coin though. EOS is my bag.
Well, that's the age-old question now, right? Is do you buy projects? Do you buy technology? Do you believe in it? Or are you just trying to make money?
It's a crowd mentality, man. You got to do both. So my biggest bag is EOS. I'll say that outright. I'm not going to hide from that. That's my favorite. I think long-term that's got a lot of potential. But to increase my bag, I'm going to trade shitcoins. It's a small percent of my portfolio. 10% of my portfolio is my shitcoin flipper, and I'm doing it to enhance my positions on the coins I actually believe in.
Is shitcoin the most fun word to say, period? Or is there one better? Because I'm pretty sure it is.
It's probably shitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see a shitcoin as a coin that it doesn't mean it's always going to be a shit coin. It means that it's so early in development that it hasn't proven itself yet, so it's only good as a means to make more money.
Well, then let's define it. Why is or isn't Bitcoin a shitcoin?
Why isn't EOS a shitcoin?
Yeah.
Because its project hasn't been launched yet.
Well, they have the alphas out for Dawn 3.0.
That just came out yesterday.
Yeah, but okay, hold on. Before that, though, we had 2.0 in December, so it's been out for a while. You can view the code on GitHub; it's all available.
For developers.
How about we talk about the Weiss ratings? The Weiss ratings were released this week, and the two top-graded coins on there were Ethereum and EOS, and then below that, they all got rated a B. And then in the B- category was Cardano, Neo, and I believe Steemit.
Did we ever?
And then everyone else was terrible. According to Weiss ratings, everything was a shitcoin.
Yeah, but
that's
my I think we talked about in the office that what were those Weiss ratings based on? I think they needed to come out with something.
Well, and what authority does Weiss have to make a judgment on cryptocurrencies? Does it even make sense for them to come out with a report like that?
I mean, it hasn't really moved the market. Ethereum hasn't moved, EOS hasn't moved, Neo hasn't moved. Nothing's moving from that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Like, if you kind of go back to the question that we started with of what defines a shitcoin, if some coin that got a D- or a D or a C- or whatever the case may be, but then to your original point of it being like a penny crypto, quote unquote, and it goes up by 500%, is that success? Even though nothing of the project has changed.
Well,
but for an investor...
It's success for some people. It may be success for an investor or somebody who flipped it, but I wouldn't say that the platform is successful because the token price increased.
It's sustained. I think sustained is the right word to use. It needs to have sustained success, not to be...
Yeah.
For the next couple of years, this is just a game of speculation. Until the first crypto breaks through with a mainstream use case, everything's a shitcoin, everything's a speculation. And speculation is powered by like popularity almost. Like it's all a show right now because no one's proven themselves. Like Bitcoin's really the only one that it's a store of value. Like that's not even.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has proven itself to be anti-fragile, and it's very difficult to change, which is actually a good thing, I think, if it's going to be a store of value like a gold 2.0. But there are also people on the flip side who think that Bitcoin has failed because it costs you $500 to send a transaction with 30 unspent outputs.
How about this question? Let's go around the table. So Bitcoin's king. It controls the market. It is king. I own 0% Bitcoin.
Yeah, same.
Agreed.
I don't know that a token that is just scarce, that runs on proof of work, is going to be a gold 2.0 thing in the long term. I think now it makes a lot of sense, but my personal opinion is that there's going to be other value derived from platforms that isn't just scarcity. Scarcity is just one component of these things, but you can have another platform that's scarce that's backed up by something real, like computing power or bandwidth or whatever the case may be. But I just don't know that.
So do you foresee like obviously the whole kind of like Bitcoin battle, Bitcoin versus Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin? Do you see it like, are you saying like you see another coin overtaking Bitcoin and Bitcoin being in the top 3 or the top 5 and it being like not necessarily replaced? Or are you saying that like Bitcoin could very well be the 24th highest cryptocurrency and be basically replaced as the leader?
Well, I think the value proposition over time for Bitcoin goes down almost, because as you have all these other places to store wealth or store value, I think they're going to be much more appealing places to store that value than Bitcoin.
I think Bitcoin serves its greatest utility is it is used as the means to purchase altcoins.
Right.
If every Binance, Bitrex, Poloniex, however you say it,
Poloniex.
Polo. I've only ever called it Polo.
Okay, there you go.
And obviously, this is from an investor standpoint too, because Bitcoin does a lot of things for people in different countries, moving money. But from an investor standpoint, which is where the conversation has gone thus far, then yeah, Bitcoin's great for purchasing alts.
I think if the top exchanges didn't use Bitcoin as the main trading pair, it would drastically drop off in price. I'm not on either side of the...
What do you use if it's not Bitcoin? because you have to peg it to something, and nobody wants to peg it to the dollar because there are people who aren't in the U.S. that don't want to use the dollar. Even people in the U.S. don't want to use the dollar. So what do you peg it to?
Bitcoin Cash.
Oh my God! No, that's not what I expected.
At this point, the disclaimer for the fact that we have been drinking is probably
I own 0 Bitcoin Cash and 0 Bitcoin, but it could happen. Imagine if...
No way.
I just don't think Bitcoin Cash doesn't solve... It solves the problems in the very near term of like, hey, we give you bigger blocks and the fees are lower because we're not spam attacking the network.
Decentralized exchanges are going to be huge in the next year or two. As more and more countries try to regulate the decentralized exchanges, are going to keep popping up. Whenever you trade on a centralized exchange, you're kind of shielded away from the Bitcoin transaction fees. How do you make a small, like, couple dollar trade on a decentralized exchange where you yourself are paying the transaction fees? How are you going to eat a $30 fee when you're making a $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 trade?
You don't.
Well, that's why you have like Binance coins, right? I mean, Binance is, a lot of people are, they're torn on whether or not Binance is a reputable, exchange or not, but the Binance coin, the way it works is when you buy the Binance coins, you actually get it at 1/5 of the price to do a transaction than if you were using Bitcoin on Binance. You can do both, but what I saw when we had like that big jump when Bitcoin ran up to 20,000 and then the alts kind of pumped afterwards, Binance went up to $20, $25. And it was sitting at $2 for months, and everybody was using the exchange. But then people in the Binance community, whatever exchange becomes the dominant one, they could shape a lot of the conversation on what's the best one to trade with.
I mean, that's a good point. Do you think the Binance run-up was... Because what I thought the Binance price increase, what I gathered was like... all of a sudden they announced their statistics for the first time. Like, we had 250,000 people try to sign up in an hour, and then the coin was raised.
Well, it's
trading at $13 right now, too.
It's interesting what Binance Coin's doing, though, because Binance themselves have something called Launchpad, which they're using to launch ICOs. Sometimes after an ICO has closed its round of funding, Binance controls 10% more of the coins, and they'll do like a second round of ICO that you can only get into with the Binance coin. So they're adding more and more utilities to it. It's really cool.
So Binance themselves are investing in ICOs?
I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with it enough to talk about it.
Okay. They're the ones dumping it when it hits.
Binance!
God
yeah,
damn
100. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it makes sense for an ICO, right? Like the growth that Binance has had. I mean, let's be honest. Like it's dominating over Bittrex right now. I mean, Bittrex was the leader of all exchanges, and it's still up there. It's probably top 3, top 5.
Is there a volume?
Yeah, I don't know what it is at the moment. I mean, Rob can look it up, but I mean, we all use Binance as the #1 exchange right now. I think most people do. They list, they list more coins than most of the other leading alt exchanges do.
It looks like a lot of them. Binance is the #2 largest exchange by volume.
Wow.
$2.4 billion in volume traded on Binance in the last 24 hours as of January 26th. The one that's above it is Upbit, which I've never heard of.
That's Korean exchange, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, KRW.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So there's Upbit, Binance, BitHum, OKX, Bitfinex, Huobi, then Bittrex at number 7. So it's a huge difference.
7, wow.
Bittrex is only at 688 million in volume in 24 hours, and Binance is 4 times that at 2.4 billion.
And that stat might not be right. Like I don't know if from like an actual volume standpoint, Bittrex was leading. Maybe some of that is biased because we're based in the U.S. But I mean, Binance has had like a hell of a run. So if I'm an ICO and Binance can give me my marketing and my all the various consultation that I'm looking for, plus then has incentive to list me on their site. That's huge.
I mean, it's starting to become like you see when you're introducing somebody into crypto. What do you tell them? Like, how do they get started? Well, they go on Coinbase or GDEX to buy. Binance is becoming that next step that people are introducing.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you go to Coinbase, and then you go to Binance. And so if that becomes the normal conversation, that spread, then we're all on Binance. And
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And then the other thing is in all of crypto, I mean, a friend of mine who's traveled to Korea many times, and he's a Spanish and Korean translator, he told me that 20% of all crypto in 2017 was Korean money. So, so when you're looking at a company like Binance that understands the Asian market, and they have Asian coins, and they know how to handle those customers. The United States, they couldn't care less about what we're doing.
Yeah.
So how many, besides Binance, you think Bittrex and Polo, those are mostly American customers. Of all the exchanges, I'd say Binance has positioned themselves in the best spot for the international market. They're the only exchange that you see all the different translations. I'm just looking at the screen. They got in Dutch, French, Spanish, all the Asian countries, English. Like none of the other exchanges have translations.
They're based out of Japan, correct?
Oh, really?
I think Binance is based out of Japan.
No, I think
Are they not?
I think it's in they're in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Part of the
So that's
reason
how they
why
got out of the Chinese regulation.
Bittrex has fallen off, though, I think, because of regulation in the U.S., where they're much more hesitant to list coins now than they were 6 months ago.
Right.
Like, when was the last time Bittrex announced a huge listing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember. I think Mana was the last one that went up. I own Mana.
Enigma.
Disclosure.
Enigma Catalyst was listed a few months ago, and it popped up a little bit, but it wasn't the kind of jump in prices that you used to see. It went from maybe 60 cents to 80 cents on Bittrex once it got listed, then back down to 60.
Yeah.
But since then, it's shot way up.
Well, I think part of the reason why it used to pump when a coin hit Bittrex was because that's where all the volume was. That's where everybody was that wanted to buy it. But now if it's going on Binance, that's where everybody is. So that's where we're seeing these huge pumps that Binance lists something. So I think it just kind of shifted a little bit.
Yeah, it's primarily in Tokyo and Shanghai.
Oh, you're right.
Really?
So
Interesting.
So they have a hold of the whole Asian market, and if there's so much money in that place, then that's why I love Asian coins. Like,
Yeah.
I like Asian projects. Well, number one, because a friend of mine who I got into crypto, we started on Bittrex, and I was like, for example, I bought this coin called Eon, and I was like, okay, Eon seems like it's going up and down a lot, and I made $10 and I lost $20, and then one day on Bittrex, I couldn't take out my Eon, I couldn't transact it.
Wow.
And it just
right.
had like this exclamation point.
They shut the wallet down for maintenance.
Yeah, and I said, I'm not okay with that. So when I got onto Binance, the interface was clean, looks very reputable, and they don't have a million coins on there. They just have what they know. And they said that they talk about their vetting process. It's very descriptive. And you can actually go on the exchange and they have a listing of descriptions about the project that are unbiased.
So there's a few weird things about Binance. Have you ever seen their contest? They give away like cars for having the highest.
Really?
Yeah.
So for individuals
Giveaways.
with the highest trade volume wins like a Mercedes or something, some
What?
car. Yeah.
Lambo.
So it's just like I feel like that just brings in a bunch of bot action because it's just a bunch of wash trading to get volume.
Oh, so maybe it's not even real volume, it's just contest volume.
Yeah. So
How much do you have to trade in volume to get a Mercedes?
I don't know, man.
That's a good
Probably
question.
don't want to know the answer to
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
so true.
And you guys
2.4 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm looking at a
90%.
contest right
Paul
now.
does that every morning.
So from 22 days ago, I don't know if they have a contest going on now, but someone won a Lambo for trading
What?
Monaco.
For trading what?
Monaco.
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 Get cultured.
Oh, it just says MCO. It doesn't even have it spelled out for me.
Monaco has a coin?
It's
I don't
not
think
like
it's-
a
I don't
country
think it's a
or...
country.
It says Binance and Monaco bring you a happy new year with a Lamborghini giveaway.
Was it Monaco the card? The debit card? That you could spend?
Yeah.
There are a lot of those.
Well, they understand. Listen, they're killing it. They understand marketing for crypto.
Yeah, that's
People
true.
want to hear that they can win a Lambo. They're gonna make
Yeah,
some
that's so
trade.
true.
Win-win.
so
Going back
true.
to the Binance coin, let's share some news. There's going to be a coin burn in Q2. They're burning 1,800,000 BNB.
Jeez.
Are there even that many?
I don't.
I mean, there has to be at least that many.
I don't know how many there are. I for disclosure, I do own a little bit of BNB, but I strictly use it. I have like $200 of it. I use it strictly
for
for
trading,
the
same.
trading
I use
fees.
it.
How many
Same way.
are they burning?
1,800,000.
Okay, see, this is ridiculous because the total circulating supply on CoinMarketCap says it's only 99 million. So they have 18 times more than the circulating supply that they're burning. So do they also own that much more that they're keeping? This is why market caps and circulating supply is so messed up. 'Cause
Yeah.
they have another 1.8 billion coins aside from the 100 million that are actually counted. So if you counted all those, Binance would be a top 10 coin.
That's probably why it's not counted.
And speaking of Binance being a top 10 coin, my new Bitcoin in my portfolio is WTC.
I'm curious to hear about this.
So,
I've heard a lot of talk
hold on,
about
beer break here. Shout out to Peter for bringing the beer.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Peter.
I'm pouring this here. If you hear some suds, that's why.
Peter is the 11th member of the ICO Alert team, so he'll be joining us here hopefully in the next couple weeks. We'll see.
Yeah, he was saying mid-February. Peter is going to be able to bring you guys some different, ICO Alert in different languages. Basically, he's got a great history of offering translation services. He's been doing it for over 10 years and has a great network. So
he also has a good taste in beer.
He does. His Irish Red is killing it, man. So, shout out Peter.
Shout out to Peter.
Yeah.
Shout out.
So tell me about Walton Coin. Heard
Okay.
a lot about
Walton
it.
Chain.
Oh, Walton Chain.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So yeah, they are coming out with a chain of their own. Their mainnet is launching very soon. I would say sometime in February. But they got my attention because I actually used to work in Internet of Things in a startup that was serving commercial real estate. And I realized that Internet of Things is it's a thing like blockchain. It's like a whole new enterprise that could change business. You look at autonomous cars, that's an Internet of a thing. It's an Internet of cars. So when I was looking in the space, I was like, what projects in blockchain are doing that? And a friend of mine told me about Walton Chain. And they're building a chain where it answers scalability for supply chain management, blockchain use. And the reason is because they've developed a really inventive way of combining RFID tags and supply chain with the blockchain, Internet of Things. So basically, they have this tag technology. An RFID tag is basically like this tag that's inside of a QR code. You can't really see it.
Right.
And the way you can scan it, you can scan through objects to see this actual thing. So there's actually a video on YouTube that you can see where they're testing it out. And it's going to be used for clothing first. So they already got some major partnerships. So imagine you take a shirt off of the rack and it automatically tells somebody's walking around with this shirt in the store. And if they walk out of the store without it, the alarm goes off because it's all on the blockchain. So there's already some partnerships going on in Asia with that chain. So the reason they answer scalability is because they've developed a really inventive way of making child and parent chains. So whenever they have too much bandwidth on one chain, they actually can make a child chain that will not perturb the above chain, but will be attached.
Rob, not to put you on the spot, but could you kind of briefly explain for those who don't know what a child chain is?
Yeah, I mean, the child chain is something that inherits the what's the word I'm looking for? It inherits all of the, not criteria, but all of the components of the parent chain, all the characteristics of the parent chain. So for example, if the parent chain does your security, and that's where all the mining takes place, that's where the blockchain is locked down or secured, then the child chain gets all those characteristics, but you can also add more to it and keep it in its own, almost like a separate blockchain.
Right. So it's really cool stuff because you can just imagine a warehouse where you don't have anybody working or with a clipboard. There's just these scanners all around, and they know where everything is in the warehouse. So they know as soon as something falls off of the line, and they need to register for that. It's all of that movement is documented on this ledger on the Walton chain.
Is it a public blockchain, or are they making private child chains for their clients?
It's going to be proprietary, decentralized, private for the companies to actually own and run their own chains.
Right.
So the value of that is absolutely incredible. They've already announced that they're going to be partnering in some way or collaborating in some way with the China Mobile IoT Alliance, which is working with AT&T on some blockchain projects.
Wow.
So the big theory of it is that WTC could become the chain that all cell phone manufacturing in the country of China is using. And so the price of WTC throughout this whole dip that's been going on throughout late January, WTC is just sitting at 30 and then sitting at 32, and today it's 37.
Wow.
So
Like stairs.
Walton's number 35 by market cap, and out of all the ones ahead of it in market cap, it is by far, it's up 69% in the last 7 days. The next closest is EOS and Stellar at about 23% each, so nothing's even close.
Literally been watching those charts and just waiting for the dip. Like, I'll buy WTC when it dips. Just continue stare on stare on stare.
I mean, if you look at the charts, it's like a sea of red on the 7-day chart. Out of the top 35 coins, there's 5 or 6 that are in green on 7 days.
It seems most similar to Hyperledger from IBM, which is like their corporate from. There was one person I talked to who, I guess their firm was trying to use it, and they said, and this is totally just hearsay, I heard this from a third party basically, but that their chain, when it comes to actually implementing it and setting it up, the whole reason why this guy thinks they made Hyperledger is so that they can sell you consulting services to basically teach you how to use it and get your whole company set up. So it's like incredibly difficult to use, but then you can pay us and we'll teach you how to use it.
Right.
So maybe Walton Coin has a or Walton Chain, excuse me, has some ground to cover there.
I mean, the coins are called Walton coins.
Oh, okay.
Walton coins, gotcha. I mean, isn't like a lot of the potential too in that tech, like what Amazon's doing right now, like where essentially you can be at a grocery store or clothing store or whatever, you can take something off the rack and just walk out with it. Your credit card's connected and you pay for it. I mean,
it's Amazon Go, I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a line at that store.
Yeah, it's weird.
I saw a photo. Amazon Go had a long line, and they were like, "How ironic that people are waiting in line at Amazon Go."
Yeah, that always. I mean, that's bound to happen. But as that grows, I mean, they're going to need some tech like that. So, listen, I mean, at some point, one of these projects is going to hit mainstream, right? Like it could be eco-friendly farming coin, or it could be a Walton chain, or it could be, it could be whatever. But at some point, one of these is going to be used for the inherent underlying tech, and of course the coin's going to go crazy, but it's also going to kind of be that first step in legitimizing the market where, Gall, you were saying earlier, like there's so much speculation right now that, a lot of this price increase, especially on, some of these newer quote unquote shit coins that we've talked about where, any sort of development is so many years away that speculation is so goofy, especially in an industry where a day's a week and a week's a month,
But Tron can have a 10-year roadmap to come out with their final product. 10 years!
No fun in here, all right?
I highly doubt I'll be carrying Tron for 10 years, though.
True.
So at what point, though, does the price of alts or any crypto, at what point does it stabilize? At what point does the utility value like stabilize? Like whatever the utility is, at what point does the price of that go up to a point where it's not even worth the utility that it does for that price? So like, let's use a real life function. Let's say you had a utility coin that gives you a month membership to a gym, and that's what it does. It gives you a month membership to any service. At what point does the price of the coin make it so that it's not even worth the subscription it's providing you as its utility?
Well, that's what's so weird about utility tokens is that they're traded on exchanges, which in a lot of situations doesn't make sense. Like an ICO will have a good example that has happened a lot is like an ad network, and an ICO will say, "Here's our ad network," and when Coca-Cola comes to us and wants to spend $5 million on an ad campaign, they're going to first have to buy our coins on an open market with very low liquidity, and then pay us those coins. It's like this weird. That I think is a good example, and I think a lot of utility tokens right now are just utility tokens so that they can have a token. Like the utility token for a month membership to your gym should not be traded on exchanges. Like that should just be tokenizing access basically to the gym. Like if that becomes your gym membership in the future, instead of a plastic card that anybody can forge or fake or steal from somebody, you just have a token and it lets you
like
in the
a
door.
fob. Yeah, I mean, inherently, you're not going to see that technology either. That's all going to be on the back end to a front end application in the same way that it works now on your smartphone. It's just going to be more efficient.
The friction's the main thing holding any of this stuff back. For anyone to think that a major company, like you said, Coca-Cola, is going to go on an exchange and buy a bunch of tokens,
it's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Well, and they're going to pump the price up 10x, and then it's going to crash, and they're not going to have the $5 million they even put in to then pay the ad company.
But there's a lot of these tokens have like an incentivization factor where like if you use our platform more or our product more, you get tokens back, right? And then that's where the exchange comes in, because if I'm using your product more, say Starbucks has a coin, and the more I go to Starbucks, the more coins I get from Starbucks. What am I doing with those coins? That there should be a way to get rid of the coins that you gain from being a part of that project. That's where the exchange comes in.
I mean, I agree that like liquidity is an important part of a lot of this stuff, but my point is less so with the liquidity or it being exchanged in general, and more so with like, I think a lot of the utility tokens fuck up their model of here's how the actual utility interfaces with the exchange. Because like you don't need a utility token for an ad network if the only purpose is for advertisers to have to go out of their way on Binance that they've never used, buy a bunch of your token, and pump your price just to use it.
I mean, what's happening though is that these projects are catering to the community now who, I mean, let's be honest, the majority of us are obviously not using these tokens for the utility because we haven't got there yet, but when you cater to this audience who are strictly investors, if you don't involve exchanges whatsoever, there's no community.
And that's why they're forcing a token into their model, so that they can, in the first place, do an ICO, and then in the second place, cash in on the profits from that ICO, because they're incentivized to make the coin pump just as much.
So you're saying like they're I mean, the technology could be used without the tokenization or something, or what are you saying?
I think a lot of the ways that people fit tokens into their business models doesn't make sense and is completely unnecessary and actually makes for a worse user experience than if they didn't have the token. Like Kin, for example. Kin had their own centralized digital currency, and then they just said, hey, we heard there's this thing called the blockchain. Why don't we decentralize our currency, make it harder for our users to store, harder for our users to transact with, and we'll launch an ICO and we'll keep 9 trillion tokens. So they saw, hey, we can keep 9 trillion, we can keep 90% of the tokens and make a bunch of money out of thin air, but they made the user experience and their product worse for their users. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot in the companies that have been listed or the ICOs that have been listed on our site. How many of those have you gone and looked on and said, okay, why does this need to be on the blockchain?
I think there are a lot.
And so essentially that's what you're talking about, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's inherently the ICO fundraising model, as we all think and many do, is one that will not fade. The average last year was like $25 to $50 million that an ICO raised, something crazy like that. Like it was an insane
Well, it was
number.
like $7 billion raised across 1,848 ICOs.
Yeah.
So whatever that is.
So whatever that math is, Q's on the computer here.
Don't wait for me. It'll take a while.
So the point being is that obviously this this fundraising function has already, in basically the first kind of strong year that it's had, beaten the top contender VCs in fundraising. So people see the opportunity. Yeah, certainly they throw out a token that might not necessarily be utilized in the best way for its users. But I mean, it's an early industry. Right?
I mean,
this
that makes
happens.
sense. I think I agree. ICOs are here to stay. It's way too powerful of a funding model to be able to go to a bunch of your potential users or potential just small seed investors, if you want to call it that. It's the potential to crowdfund the funding that you need is too strong for it to just go away. Yeah. I just think we're going to see the actual token economics, which is a word I also hate. I think we're going to see that tokenomics. We're going to see that improve over time, and just the tokens are going to make more sense in the business models than they do now. And this isn't all of them. There are some that do a perfectly good job of it.
I think part of it is these companies are just trying to find the utility that they don't need. And in the future, we're going to see more and more security tokens, which they're going to give you exactly what you want. Part ownership in something. It's going to give you dividends. It's going to be backed as a security. But the problem is it's going to shut the door on a lot of people because a lot of people who trade crypto are not accredited investors.
Right.
Well, we've seen in the past 2 or 3 months these traditional companies that just add blockchain to their names.
Kodak.
But look at Kodak. Kodak's a security token.
Those are going to be more proliferated.
Yeah, Kodak is actually, I think, a good example. Like, they're actually trying to come out with a product. Whether or not it works or not is another story, but I think Kodak is doing the right thing, and they're trying to innovate in an area where there's, a serious problem, with people stealing the copyright of photographers' photographs. But I think Long Island, Long Island Iced Tea?
Yeah.
They changed it. What did they change it to?
Long Island Blockchain.
Long Island Blockchain. They changed their name to blockchain just to pump their stock.
The fact
price.
that anyone bought that, having been in the hospitality industry, I cannot, in the craziest, way, think of a way that Long Island Iced Tea could use the blockchain.
So if you think that's crazy, how crazy is it the day after BitConnect gets shut down, drops 92%? The next day it goes from $6 to $35.
Oh my god!
Who's buying BitConnect?
I don't know.
People pumping, man.
BitConnect shut down their service though. How do you even buy it?
Yeah, I mean, nothing makes sense. That's what I mean with shitcoins. If there's no bigger shitcoin than BitConnect.
Yeah, but that's not even a shitcoin. That's just a scam.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a shitcoin and a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the kind of securitization of it all. I mean, that's an interesting segue here where we've kind of seen it on Twitter a little bit, and obviously we're aware a little of these STOs as they're kind of called now coming out, where STO, I don't know necessarily that the term has been solidified yet, but it's basically a security tokenized offering, where the biggest problem that we've had in the past couple months from a regulation standpoint, and I don't even know if you would call it a problem because the SEC has done such a good job of being relatively clear in their distinctions when it comes to what is considered a security and what isn't. You have a lot of ICOs that came out or were in progress when this regulation was happening that, they're securities. If you participate in this ICO and the coins only utility essentially is dividends, then yeah, that's a security. So in the future here, as STOs come out, you know, and if there's a landscape that allows for basically a dividend coin or an equity coin or whatever you want to call it to function under this STO, umbrella, then everything changes, right? Because now you have companies like a Kodak or a Telegram coming out and whether it's a brand new preferred stock or it's a just kind of a copy of the common stock, and people can kind of switch back and forth between being tokenized or traditional. Everything changes.
I think that STOs are going to save a lot of American businesses and businesses in general. I mean, think about the fact that Uber has been having such bad problems. Uber has been having such bad problems with their PR, and just their price has been driven down by sexual allegations and things like that. It has nothing to do with the service, right? But you look at it. I mean, even a company like Twitter, which is their stock has been more conversation than the fact that the president is on the platform tweeting. Mm-hmm. What the biggest part of the conversation is the fact that they don't know how to monetize themselves. But imagine if Twitter had a token, securitized token, then every single time that, if you had some tokens, for each token you could edit a tweet that you posted. Everybody would be like, oh, I would love to edit my tweets where I have typos.
The highest requested feature.
Yeah.
So we just talked about how STOs might save some companies and kind of legitimize crypto more than it currently is. How about Robinhood crypto?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's huge.
That is huge.
And explain what they just announced for those that don't know.
So Robinhood crypto, I'm not super familiar on it, but from what I understand is you could trade stocks, futures, and different kind of options on there, more traditional markets.
It's basically a fee-free stock exchange in your pocket. It's a mobile app.
And what they announced yesterday is that they're going to be launching cryptocurrency trading for Bitcoin, and I think not the top 14 alts, but 14 alts. And
wow.
That's going to be a game changer because there's a lot of traditional investors on Robinhood who don't currently trade crypto, and it probably has more to do with the friction, because we talked about it earlier. You got to put your money on Coinbase, and you got to transfer your Ether or Bitcoin to Binance, and then you got to buy your altcoins, and that's going to change.
So what pair are they using within Robinhood?
US dollars.
Yeah, US dollar.
Wow.
You can buy a coin with USD.
Yeah.
Aren't they offering no trading fees as well?
Yeah,
that's what they say. But there's a lot of questions on Twitter today about, are they just building the fee into the actual price?
I think there's a
That's what
subscription
Coinbase does.
fee also.
It is?
I think so.
Coinbase does that?
No.
When I see the price on CoinMarketCap
Oh,
or Binance for
Well, that's just
Bitcoin,
because it's traded higher, but
Yeah,
they show
they
you
give
the
a
fee
fee.
separately.
They show you
Like
and
3.9.
it's a crazy fee. I mean, it's
3.99% for if you're under $100.
it's a lot.
Yeah, and the credit.
Yeah.
I mean, the credit card fee is one that I know a lot of people use. I've used it before. That fee's asinine.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and I get it because obviously there's credit card fees, and then Coinbase has to make money too. And I'm not saying that it's a bad business. Coinbase does a great job, but the emphasis here with a Robinhood type is that if they can actually offer free trading, the crypto community is not one that is hesitant to switch platforms. We've seen that. So what happens now?
To me, it's about barrier to entry. Because that's the idea of crypto, right? Is I can invest into a company I can't invest into Microsoft because I don't have $100,000. But I had Robinhood when I was broke. I didn't have anything, but I wanted to own a piece. I owned a piece of Google and a piece of Twitter, and I loved just that idea of it. And crypto has changed all of that for all of us.
And honestly, I would love to see the demographics of the people that use Robinhood, because one of the coolest things about cryptocurrency is that it's allowed the younger generation to kind of get involved in investing, or that's kind of been pushed off to your 30s and 40s. In traditional investing,
that's a good point.
So I think that's really cool. It's gotten our generation, a millennial generation, and before, it's gotten us into investing so much more.
Do we know where is Robinhood based? Are they U.S. based? How long have they been around?
They're U.S. based, but the biggest stat that I wanted to kind of talk about is that in the first 8 hours, they had 250,000 people sign up for the wait list.
Part of it is
crypto.
It looks like they have a referral program, because I've seen people shilling links with the affiliate code on it, and the platform's not even launched yet.
That makes sense.
So from what I understand is I don't think you're going to be able to withdraw or deposit crypto. It's all within their closed system.
They definitely have a referral fee now that I think about it, because before I saw the announcement, I had a buddy text me who was like, "Hey, have you heard of Robinhood?" And I was You know, I was like, yeah,
Well,
he's a
you
man
get
of the
free.
people. And then, of course, after that joke, he sent me a referral fee and was like, yeah, hey, sign up for this. We can both get free Apple stock or something.
Yeah, you have a chance, like a 1 in 150 chance of getting, you'll get a free stock no matter what, but you have a 1 in 150 chance of getting like Apple, Tesla. So you could get like a free $1,000, I guess, if you were first.
So that's why, I mean,
Cool.
I
from
think
a gambling standpoint, crypto's all for it.
I think we'd all agree it's good for the market. Coinbase announced that they're going to be adding more alts this year, and I think
You know which ones?
Did they, though?
They did last year.
Last
They have
year,
a guideline.
GDAX. Yeah.
Most people don't know GDAX and Coinbase have, or I guess it's just Coinbase, has a guideline for kind of what criteria a coin has to have to be listed. Like they have to have a real product, has to have been out for this long, blah, blah, blah.
So what I think Robinhood's going to do is it's going to kind of force Coinbase's hand, because the one thing Robinhood's going to allow is it's going to allow a frictionless US dollar pair for 14 altcoins.
Wow.
Whereas currently you got to, like we said, buy the Ether, trade it to Binance, then buy it with that. So that's the benefit about Coinbase. That's whenever you're first getting into this, you're able to buy now Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and you have the US dollar pairs because that's what most people are used to. When you got to start tracking things in Satoshis, it gets really, really confusing for the new user.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
You know
I hate when you quote me a Satoshi price.
Yeah,
attachment.
that's pissing me off.
If you're gonna trade
But-
coins, you got to trade on Satoshis. Looking at US dollars are gonna get you wrecked.
Yeah, because it was trading. I think EOS was trading earlier this month at $18 or something.
And
like
it was
that.
the same price in
price as it is
Satoshis
now.
it is now
Yeah.
at like $14.
Yeah.
One Satoshi, for those who are listening, going, what the hell are you guys talking about? One Satoshi is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So right now EOS is what, 125,000 Satoshis?
Yeah, when you look at when you're on an exchange like one of the Binances or Bitrexes and you see 0.0000001 for a price of an alt, it's just easier to quote that number in Satoshis. It'd be like 1,200 Satoshis or something.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Robinhood kind of jumped ahead of someone who had the idea earlier, Square Cash. Do you remember when Square Cash said that they'd allow Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin trading,
Yeah.
but it never came to, like, they just gave it to a certain amount of users. Like 1% of their user base
Oh, they
was
tested
able
it.
to buy Bitcoin. I don't know what exchange they used, was able to buy Bitcoin through the Square Cash app.
A similar thing happened with Circle. Circle was another app. It's kind of similar to Square Cash,
Yeah.
but they came out. This was I think 2 or 3 years ago, where Circle allowed you to buy Bitcoin directly in their app and even remove it from the app.
Oh, wow.
But now they apparently don't use it at all anymore. I think they were using it for like their back end settlement or something to transfer large amounts of money, but now that the fees are too high, they're not even using it.
Yeah, there's another app platform that just came out this past week that said they had to cancel their Bitcoin buys and sells because of the fees.
Oh yeah, who was that?
I don't remember.
It started with an S.
Was it Squarespace?
No.
I mean, the Square Cash.
Shopify?
That's what I'm saying. Bitcoin can't go mainstream because it used to be like digital cash.
Well, it depends on your definition of mainstream. Like if mainstream is it's in everybody's retirement account as like an option, then I
Right.
think it can go mainstream as that. Because then at a certain point, a lot of the Bitcoin that's actually being traded never actually moves. Like it's just sitting in Coinbase's wallet, and then they're trading a digit that represents the Bitcoin in Coinbase's centralized system.
And I think that's how Robinhood's going to do it, and that's how they're doing
definitely.
it feeless. All the Bitcoin's held and owned by Robinhood. So whenever you trade your US dollars for Bitcoin, like Rob said, the Bitcoins aren't actually moving. That's why there's no fees.
Right.
It's just a centralized database moving digits.
but they're going
Is
to
that
have
a
to get it
dang-
from somebody.
Is that a dangerous game?
How about this? So Coinbase
what
announced
way?
they're working on stuff to secure money for like hedge funds, Rob?
Yeah, Coinbase custody. So basically, there's all these weird legal requirements, specifically in the U.S. I'm sure it exists elsewhere. But if you're a hedge fund, you generally don't hold the assets that you're trading. Usually, stocks, bonds, something like that.
It's a liability thing.
Yeah, you have a separate custodian who holds those funds for you. So with crypto, even though the whole point is you can secure your own funds, you can be your own bank, there's still these old laws that require hedge funds and all these other investment funds to have their own custodian. So that's where Coinbase sees the opportunity, I think.
So would it surprise anyone if Coinbase was holding the cryptocurrency for Robinhood? Because
that would make a ton of sense.
where's Robinhood getting the infrastructure to do this securely and legally in the U.S.?
Right. Probably somebody like Coinbase.
But all their PR that came out yesterday almost attacked Coinbase. But I think Coinbase is going to make money off Robinhood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a theory.
That might just be our.
That's
our
my
perception
conspiracy
as well.
theory. I haven't read that anywhere.
Did you get a chance to look at where Robinhood's based, their history?
No, I did not.
Hit that
I did
for us.
find that it was about 4 million average over the total ICOs. that were raising funds last
$4
year.
million?
Yeah,
$4
$4
million.
million
So I was
on
way
average.
So out of 1,848 ICOs, the average raised was $4 million.
Yeah, it took 18
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some outliers there, like EOS, which has done over $1 billion.
Mm.
Tezos, which did almost $250 million. Like, there's a lot of those are the top coins that just raised a ton of money, but there are definitely a lot of projects that raise smaller amounts too.
So Robinhood is U.S. based. April 2013 is when they launched.
Really?
Yeah, they're
Palo
based in
Alto.
Palo Alto. Yeah.
They've been around for a while.
Mm.
They're probably. I guess they're going to kill Robinhood, because Robinhood is basically a copy of Robinhood but for crypto, right?
Mm.
That's what I thought it was originally. Whenever
Yeah,
my
yeah.
buddy texted me, I
That's
was like,
what I
"Well, this
thought
is just
too.
the iPhone, like, you know."
Wasn't there some lawsuit going on? Robinhood is suing Robinhood.
I heard that in like Telegram or something. I haven't looked
Oh,
it up.
okay.
I don't know.
The
I
only
don't know if
real
it's real.
coin is Doge.
Fake news.
Oh my God, Dogecoin.
Doge, Jesus.
This is like it's. There are people out there going, "Yeah,
Yeah,
Doge, all right."
Dogecoin is being traded on. It was one of Robinhood's coins. It was
What?
Yeah. So like that's why I said
Oh
it wasn't in the
my
top
God.
14 by cap. Like Dogecoin made the list
How
for
can
Robinhood.
Doge is going to be the first coin. First of all, let me explain this. They're going to print some type of coin or make some type of coin with Doge's face. So it's going to be a Doge coin.
You do
And
own
it's-
some Dogecoin, right?
I don't own any Dogecoin. I was trying to, but you have to have your own wallet for the Doge. So I'm
Friction.
Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, you have to
You
have
just-
like a Doge
you just
wallet.
still-
It's
That
not
was the best
ERC-20.
decision
I'm
you
not-
could have made.
The one
I'm
that
not
got
questioning
away.
it. No, well, back to my original point. Doge is going to be the first coin on the actual moon. So we're literally going.
But it's not.
No.
It's it's
Yeah.
like a piece of metal that you're sending to the moon,
Yes.
saying this is
This is
a Doge.
Dogecoin.
That's
Yes.
so ridiculous. That's not.
That's a real project.
That is a real project. They're funding it
The
in
first
Doge.
Dogecoin
Yes.
If you got into Dogecoin in like 2013, then it's like acceptable to like meme about it all the time. But I feel like if you just found out about Dogecoin, it's like, no, stay away.
As long as you own it, you can. You
No!
Can chill it.
All right,
Come on.
what's the contribution address? I want a coin.
Yeah, exactly. You want the coin on the moon.
That's so ridiculous.
But that is the conversation. That whole thing is like, what
Yeah.
is a good project? It's all subjective. What's
Yeah.
a good coin? It's all subjective. Like, what's a good way to make money for your project? Whether criminal or scammy or legitimate, that's subjective.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, everybody has their
I
own
mean,
standards.
criminal isn't that subjective, I would argue. But, you know,
But
BitConnect is pretty objectively
Yeah.
a scam.
Yeah.
But, you know, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but
Sure.
like Doge, it's a meme. Like,
Yeah.
like somebody's getting rich off of a joke.
And it's a...
Yeah.
What is their market cap?
I have no idea.
Okay, it's less than $1 billion. So it's
There we go.
It's,
See,
I think
we're
it crossed...
good.
Although I think it crossed $1 billion because it went over a penny, and now
Well,
it's
when
7
that pump
tenths of a
happened,
penny.
yeah.
Below Walton.
Yeah, it is. Rightfully
Yeah.
so. I mean,
I hope so.
a Doge versus
didn't the founder say something about, like,
He said
no
it was
one's
like-
developing or something?
Yeah.
Some shit?
It was
Like,
Yeah,
like,
the
this is
founder of Doge, who is no longer part of the project,
if it's called
was
still
quoted in
project.
different newspapers, like just saying, "I don't know why its value keeps going up."
wait, the founder of Doge reached out to newspapers?
I'm
What?
sure
I think
he
they
was
reached out
quoted
to him.
somewhere.
He
I
was
know, I'm
quoted.
just messing.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I mean, it makes sense. Why?
It's just such a new market. Every double.
It's
It's,
run- it's
it's
run
Me,
by-
it's
Doge is valuable because it
Me.
has a certain amount of mimetic power behind it.
Yes.
I mean, that's why.
And it's
Did
run.
you just say mimetic power?
Yes, I did.
I love that.
Wow.
Jeez.
Mimetic power.
I like that.
Hashtag.
So I'll just read the headline of the first article that popped up on Google when I searched for Dogecoin and the founder. Quote, "It was a piss take, the Aussie behind joke cryptocurrency Dogecoin and how it reached $2.4 billion market cap."
$2.4 billion.
This was an article from a couple days ago, yesterday. So yeah, it's probably still the market cap today. So how's it
No,
going?
it's under $1 billion now.
Yeah, it's
This would have
810
been
million.
It would have been from the pump, though.
Okay.
But
yeah, that.
So that was probably the peak that they were quoting him on.
So
Right.
it's down 66%.
Hey,
The whole time.
stop flooding my coin. All right?
That's not fun, that's a fact.
dip.
That's something I think we should talk about. People, when they see something negative about their
Yes.
coin, they come out and they say, "Oh, that's FUD," which stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But people have kind of used the term FUD. They've given it a new definition for that's fake. Like that's fake news. That's FUD. Like don't believe that. But in a lot of cases, It's factual information that people are presenting, and then people call it FUD because they don't like it because they're bag holding the one that it's talking about.
It's
Absolutely.
being used as a synonym for criticism.
Yeah.
Right.
Without, like, if you can't handle criticism, then you're probably a shitcoin. Like, every shitcoin gets criticized, but it's not FUD, it's criticism. You can criticize any single coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, there's criticism for all of it. None of them.
I think people try to say that FUD, though, is unjust criticism.
Yes. So
No.
true.
Like, not just any criticism in general.
With this Weiss rating that came out, you look at the comments on Twitter whenever anybody posts the Weiss rating, and if your coin got a D or a C or
like every coin.
it's FUD. Like that's
Yeah.
what they just call it. So I totally agree.
And then
with
the
that,
coins
Rob.
that got a B- or a B are
Yeah,
tweeting about it saying the Weiss rating gave us a good rating.
I'm not sure what the ratings were all based on, but one of them was risk.
We need to
And to
find
say
that out.
that these coins aren't risky, every single one is risky.
That's true.
Like in 5 years, 90% of these coins might be near worthless.
Yeah.
If it's based on risk, also, like, what are their metrics for judging
that
risk?
needs to
Because
come out.
Ethereum, and I would argue, is super fucking risky right now. If 1,000 people's cats can take down
Hey.
the Ethereum network,
Yeah.
yours included,
I'm talking
then
about
Hey,
I'm concerned.
Vitalik says that sharding is the solution.
Maybe it is.
I'll
might be.
shard all over
You still got
it.
your cats, Rob?
I still have I couldn't move my cats if I wanted to.
I
It
own
would cost
Ethereum.
me.
That's true.
It would cost me $5 to move my cat every time I wanted to move it. I did a bunch of trades on Ether Delta last night, and I went back and looked, and I spent like hundreds of dollars in transaction fees. Not to the Ether Delta, but to the Ethereum network, because every time I sent a transaction, it was like $2.85.
Miners gotta
What?
get paid, brother.
Yeah, but the mining in general is such an inefficient system.
Oh yeah. Not only are the miners getting paid big time, the electric companies are really making out too.
Yeah.
They're killing the planet.
That's
So-
who's crushing it.
So back to Robinhood, because I'm curious. You said top 14 altcoins?
Not the top 14. I'll get
Just
you the
14
list.
in
Give me a
general.
minute.
Yeah, let's hit me.
They have a list?
Hit me with that
Yeah.
list.
That's how we know Doge is one.
Mhm.
So they just picked Doge out of thin
They
air.
didn't just pick Doge out of thin air.
Doge, just like
It's
Robinhood, is a
handpicked.
coin of the people.
It is. It literally. You got that from me.
Oh
I
my
said it's
God.
the
I
coin
definitely
of the
just
people.
made that up right
No,
now.
he was.
All right.
I remember him saying this like 2 weeks ago.
Where is it?
Give me an argument.
I will read you. Okay, the full list of coins you can
Doge
track.
being coin of the people.
Hold
It's-
on, let
it's-
him get it. Let him get the list.
All right. So the list we got: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash,
Ugh.
Litecoin, Ripple, Ethereum Classic, Zcash, Monero, Dash, Stellar, Qtum, Bitcoin Gold. How'd they get on there?
Wow.
No
what?
replay protection.
Omize Go, Neo, Lisk, and Dogecoin.
Lisk. I should
Yeah,
have held my
why'd you
list.
s-
It's alright. I
Is it
made more
Eon?
Neos. Disclaimer.
Eon?
Eon?
What'd you say, Neo?
Neo.
Neo.
Yeah.
Neo.
Those are good. I mean,
It makes
I'm
sense.
impressed that they included Neo and Lisk. Like that's, you know.
All I know about Neo is that when I was researching WTC, shill, the fact is...
Enough
Hashtag shill.
You
Enough
remember,
out of you.
you remember in September 15th when China banned everything? China is the only country that can manipulate the market when they want to, you know. And when and September 15th was
Korea?
the first time they did it. Korea too,
Yeah.
you know. But September 15th, Bitcoin went from like 5 something to
All the way down to
3.
2,800 was the
Right.
bottom.
so like half, like cut in half. And China also tucked in underneath those regulations they announced was they would only be allowing 2 currencies, and one of them was revealed to be Neo, and people wondering what the other one was. It's WTC to me. Because
Oh wow.
Because they haven't announced it.
it has not been officially announced as to which one, but there are reports that WTC can be classified as a currency or a security,
Wait, so there are 2 coins that the
Well-
Chinese government is picking?
basically.
That
So
you can legally
that
trade.
they will legally allow to trade.
If one of them is
Wow.
Neo, the other one's got to be Neo Gas.
It could be.
Neo is indivisible.
Ah,
Neo is indivisible. It's
Yeah.
like a stock. Like on an exchange, you could buy and sell decimals of Neo, but whenever you send it from wallet to wallet, it's only sendable in single units. But Neo Gas can
What?
be broken down. Yeah,
So I can't send 0.1 Neo to somebody.
not on an exchange. Yeah, but off of the exchange, no. That's why when Neo, it
What?
almost hit $200 recently, so you wouldn't be able to trade less than $200. So think of Ethereum.
That's
So,
insane.
so you spend gas on the Ethereum network. You just talked about all these fees. If we were on Neo, holding Neo is owning a piece of the platform, and the gas is what's used to pay all the nodes in the miner.
Oh, interesting.
So why I don't understand? I've never understood this, and hopefully you can enlighten me. But why? So why are they separate in price?
Because they serve different purposes. Neo is a staking utility, and holding Neo in your Neo wallet actually it's kind of like you're getting interest. You get paid in gas,
Yeah.
Neo gas, for holding Neo in your Neo wallet.
Wow.
So it
Okay.
generates it.
Yeah.
It generates automatically.
So, and eventually there's no more Neo gas that's going to be produced. But that's like a long time from now. I used to be really into Neo. I don't know any now, but this past summer I was really into ant shares and whatever the gas is called back then.
Ant shares was what Neo was called until the summer, I guess.
Yeah, they rebranded in I think July.
Yeah.
And then I sold it, and as soon as I sold it pumped to like $40 or $50. I sold it for like 10.
Isn't that how it always happens?
Classic head and hands goal.
Well, I remember the Neo Gas. It was only traded on one like weird Chinese exchange that like no one ever heard of, and Neo Gas was trading for like 20 cents, and everyone was like, "Buy it! It's gonna be so worth so much money." I didn't buy any of it, and now it's worth a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You've come a long way.
We all have those stories.
You've come a long way.
Oh, definitely. I mean, everybody. It's almost like people make up stories now, like random people. I'm not talking about it here, but like you'll meet with somebody. Oh, I had an opportunity to buy Bitcoin when it was at a penny. It's like, did you? Were you one of the first 50 people to discover this?
I have a lot of regrets from the summer. The summer's when I really got hardcore into this stuff. Probably like May, I got real into it. June, July.
Yeah.
And like in the Ant Shares channels, which is now Neo, they were talking about the Binance ICO. And those BNB tokens, I don't remember what they were, but they're like less than like 20 cents.
Yeah.
So man, there's so much lost opportunity.
I mean,
and a lot of people think this. Like if you talk to people that are not in crypto, they're almost hesitant to jump in because they feel like it's too late. It is not too late. As many missed opportunities, every single one of us in this room has hundreds of missed opportunities. But there's like there's unlimited opportunities ahead.
People look back, like the whole adage, hindsight is 20/20, like it's crystal clear. It's so weird to me that investments are like the only thing that people go, oh, I should have done it. Like, why didn't I do it? And they live with regret for it forever. Because anything else, it's not like people are, oh, I should have passed my law exam, so I could have been a lawyer. I regret that it's only investments.
Yeah.
It's like somebody came to me and I was going to invest in Tesla back in the day, and I just didn't. It's so weird that one category, like people have so much, like, oh, hindsight, like, oh, I should have done it. Why didn't I do it?
Because it's easier to admit than, damn, I let my dream girl get away.
Oh, wow, that's a good
it hurts
point.
too much. Or like, I should have done better on that job interview. Or like,
It's too personal.
It's too personal. It's like it's easy to be like, yeah, I could have invested into Winterfresh.
Right.
You know, when Wrigley was going to buy it, it was like.
That's a good point.
But like instead of living in despair like that, look to the future. Like I said,
okay, Gall.
Hey, I'm the guy, guys. So the whole market's down right now. I guarantee you, if I exited crypto today and went into fiat, the whole market would freaking triple overnight.
Yeah.
Rob, that's
Maybe
a good.
you should exit for us.
Whenever I see that as like, oh, I wish I invested in Bitcoin like at $1, 10 cents. I'm like, and they always value it. They're like, one of these is worth 16,000 today.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you're telling me that Bitcoin raises in value, and not once are you selling it before
Exactly.
16,000.
Those are the same people that, like, at $1.10, they would have sold for the 10%.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I made $1 on this.
Or they would have lost
Unless-
it all in Mount Gox.
Unless your name is 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Toddler of the year.
This was a cool story that Gall brought up. He did what? He was selling albums?
So
for Bitcoin?
he had an album that came out a couple years ago,
2014.
and he offered
2014?
to sell it for Bitcoin. And I don't know how many albums he sold, but he sold them for Bitcoin and then just forgot about it. Like he didn't even know he had this Bitcoin until it gained value this year, and he checked his account, $8 million worth of Bitcoin because that guy hodled.
He wasn't selling any albums.
He didn't.
Albums.
But you know what? That's kind of honestly, that's the best lesson I've ever seen in investing. Is fucking forget about it.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm just seeing this here on Twitter. Have you guys seen this? That a la Mt. Gox, another Tokyo-based exchange, was just hacked.
Yeah, they lost like $750 million in one token.
Not quite. 534 million. It says.
Oh, the number I saw this morning was 7 something.
Yeah, this is saying 534 million. This is from Metro News, which I guess is London.
But it was only
based.
NEM or XEM. I guess NEM.
Oh, this is the same thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I think I shared.
Wow.
But
Does anyone even know
I'm
what
just-
NEM is? It's a top coin, and I don't know much about it.
It's another. The way I understand it is, it's like another blockchain platform, but they do something with gaming. Like it's
Okay.
geared towards gaming, and I could be wrong.
I
but,
did it back in the day, but I never remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is
I mean-
a ton of money. I mean, supposedly it had something to do with a bit of a Bitcoin drop this morning. this metro.co.uk site is saying 10%. I don't know if that's the case.
Well, we've come a long. I mean, CoinMarketCap says Bitcoin's down 3.45%. We've come a long way from the days of Mt. Gox, where obviously it was like the only exchange at the time, other than Bitstamp and some other small ones. But when Mt. Gox gets hacked, everything drops by 90% over 2 years. Now this exchange gets hacked for much more money than it was back then, but Bitcoin's only down 4%. So we've come a long way, and we're much less fragile. But I still think we have a long way to go in terms of moving to decentralized exchanges and just less centralization in the space.
Yeah. Definitely.
Bitcoin's going to do well because it's famous now.
Yeah.
It's just so famous. I was talking earlier about I went on to Bloomberg.com because 2 days ago I posted a really incredible article about how despite the fact that the market is down.
Was it incredible?
Yeah, I thought it was incredible. That ICOs are still being invested in.
Yeah.
Heavily.
Yeah.
Despite the market crashing, people are buying into these ICOs. I went to Bloomberg today, Bloomberg.com, and you can check yourself, on the 26th of January. There's not one story on any tab of their section about crypto, ICOs, cryptocurrency at all. And I'm saying that is like back to the conversation about corporate FUD. Mm-hmm. It's like FUD against Bitcoin itself, like against cryptocurrencies. And it's like, well, we're in this industry and we're seeing all this movement and how exciting it is, and it's very dangerous at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it's being run by millennials, at this point. So it's like, how are you going to say, Bitcoin is going to die or it's not going to die? The fact that it's famous, just like the word blockchain, it has its own value. And the fact that it survives all of this, that resiliency alone gives it exponential value.
Well, if you look at the Bitcoin death counter, somebody has counted the number of Bitcoin
those are
obituaries.com from 99 Bitcoins. Bitcoin has died 240
and it shows
times.
all the articles.
Yeah,
I've seen those.
And it links out to all the articles like CNBC, sorry, Bitcoin is dead.
Yeah. CNBC is struggling lately, man.
Well, ever since CNBC did a step-by-step walkthrough on live TV for like 5 minutes of here's how to buy not how to buy Bitcoin, here's how to buy Ripple on Binance.
Yeah.
They had like 50 grand in Bitcoin in their account and were literally step-by-step on this huge screen. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to the buy box, I'm going to hit 100%, I'm going to click buy and do a market buy. And there we go, now I got 30,000 XRP, look at that.
Who is following along? Like, what dad is like,
what's
my password on Binance? Like,
there have to be people doing the same thing.
Did they not teach him how to sell?
No.
They didn't teach him how to sell. So they learned that a couple weeks later, as we saw.
As they were panic selling. That's a good example of where circulating supply is so messed up too, because the circulating supply is 38 billion. But what is it? Both of the co-founders each have the exact same amount. They each have 38 billion tokens or something. It doesn't make any
it's heavily pre-mined, basically.
It's weird though how much of an influence CoinMarketCap.com has over the space, because they could change in the same way that they removed Korean exchange prices from the average, and everybody freaked out because they thought the market was down. Like, they have the power to also change circulating supply to the actual total supply and just totally change the Ripple would be #1 market cap right now.
I remember one day a coworker of mine who I've been asking to get into crypto for a while, and we all have those two kind of friends, like one who's like, hey, so what should I buy? And then you have this other friend who's like, the market is dying, you should get out. Sell. And my friend was like, one day just like, yeah, what do you think about Ripple? And I'm like,
oh, no,
not much, man.
No. Ripple's at the top of most new folks' list, it seems, because if you look at Coinbase, you've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, okay, and then past that, when you think about like the life cycle of a cryptocurrency investor, Ripple is one that's there in the top 10, or at one point was number 2, but is like $1.40. So somebody's like, oh, let me put $1,000 into this.
Well, that's because those people who are buying Ripple at $1.20 now think it's going to go to 20,000 like Bitcoin did, which is like so asinine.
And to a lot of people entering the market, they're like, oh, it's backed by the banking industry, as if that's a good thing.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, the whole reason cryptocurrency began and Satoshi invented Bitcoin was because he couldn't trust the banks.
Yeah.
We all live in the United States. Everyone at this table lives in the United States, so it's a lot harder for we got screwed by the banking industry many times over the years, in 2008 most recently. But in a lot of other countries like Venezuela, what's the other one, Zimbabwe?
Well, Greece. Well, most people don't know. And I'll tell traditional finance people this who study global economics. Nobody knows that Greece, when they went through that whole bailout and they tried to get the EU to bail them out, and the EU said no, you have to take care of it. If you had more than $100,000 or 100,000 euros, I guess, in your bank account in Greece, the government took it. So if you cashed out all your money, if you were about to retire next week and you liquidated your stock portfolio, you're ready to retire, and then suddenly the government takes all of your money. I mean, how pissed would you be?
They didn't get
It's
it
so
back.
insane. No, they didn't get it back. They used to pay their debt. So the country put themselves in this position where they're massively in debt, basically about to go bankrupt and cease to exist. And instead of taking responsibility for it in any way, they stole all of their citizens' money. And if you had less than $100,000, don't worry, you weren't excluded. They took 30% of all your money.
Right.
So it's so crazy.
It's just the largest tax to ever be imposed.
Oh yeah.
Ever.
So that's a good reason why it's hard to have an argument. So, like, there's a lot of haters on where the market's headed in cryptocurrency in general in the U.S. But when you leave the U.S., you go to some of these other countries that have been through bigger financial crises than us. That's where the value really hits home, because those people in Greece, they thought they owned that money.
Yeah.
They didn't own that money. The government owned that money.
Yeah, exactly.
And those are just macro events. Like every day, like little micro events happen that we don't necessarily like have to experience in the U.S. But like Dimitri's like new to the office, obviously, but has been overseas, and the amount of corruption and the amount of all these things that are happening on a micro level that we don't hear about, like a banking crisis.
Yeah.
Those happen all the time, every day, that we don't really see in the U.S.
What's to stop the banks? I mean, if you look in your account and you see maintenance fee, on your ledger. What do you think it is?
Yeah.
What is a maintenance fee of, even if it's 30 cents? If they took 30 cents out of every Bank of America account.
Yeah.
Anytime they need some money, that's right there. It's not your money.
Did you see the recent news of Bank of America taking, I think, what amounts to 14%?
Criminal.
14% fee out of everybody if you have less than $1,000 in your bank account?
If you
what?
if you compound the fee or something, yeah.
No, I think it's like a 1 point something fee per month.
Yeah.
Right.
So over a year, it's 14%.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, over a year.
And basically, like, banks, everybody knows if you don't have a direct deposit set up in your major bank, they take a fee.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, if you don't pay the bank every month, they will take money from you.
That's so messed up.
I've noticed little things too, like, we bank with a partner here, a large bank for the business, who fortunately we're going to be able to move away from. But just in the time that we've had to, they used to have deposit and withdrawal slips by the door. You come in, you fill one of each out, whatever. Maybe you need to take some money out, you fill that out, whatever. Now there's only deposit slips by the door. You gotta wait in line and go to the teller to get a withdrawal slip. It's not a big deal, right? Maybe that teller can help you, whatever. But that's added friction, right?
They don't want you to.
They want to. Maybe it's a selling thing, right? Like, if you're going to withdraw money, we want to sell you on a new credit card because, hey, perhaps you're in the need of cash. Maybe this credit card with this outrageous fee could help you, right? So it's crazy.
Part of it's just the money doesn't exist because it's a fractional reserve system. So, like, if you even look at ATM withdrawal limits, like, it used to be unlimited. You go to the ATM, withdraw as much money as you want. Then I think it was $1,000, then $500, and now some banks are like $100 or $200 a day. Yeah. You can withdraw. So if you actually wanted to pull your money out in a second, you're not going to be able to. I mean, you go to the bank, they don't keep that much cash on hand. I think it was dad. It was somebody I was talking to. It was either my dad or a friend of mine, but they were withdrawing like 10 grand from the bank in cash. And they went to the bank, and I think this was one of my other friends. Anyway, whoever it was, they were going to withdraw $10,000 in cash, and the bank was like, whoa, we don't have that kind of money on hand. And they were like, what kind of money on hand? It's $10,000. You're a bank. You should have way more than 10 grand in cash. And they just didn't keep any cash in the branch anymore. Yeah. So it's almost like cash is just going away completely, where now it is just this huge centralized ledger that all these banks are keeping, where it's not backed by anything. The money doesn't exist.
Yeah. There was an article released this week about how 1 in 6 millennials are they're investing for the first time. So everybody think a year ago from today, how much money you had saved. And it's very, very different from anybody who's in crypto, right? So and they said the number was about $10,000 for 1 in 6 millennials that are investing for the first time ever that much money. And for me, I have more money.
That's today?
Yeah. They're basically, the argument is that there's just a bunch of money missing from the market. Nobody knows where it is. I know exactly where that money is.
Yeah.
It's in Wall Chain.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I just don't see any, this sounds crazy too, but I don't see any value in something that's not tokenized anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, why am I going to cash out a bunch of money, give it to my bank, and then hope to God that one day I'll actually be able to take it out when I can hold it in crypto and keep it on my ledger? Like, it doesn't make any sense for me to not store my value in something that's tokenized and that I control.
Obviously, I mean, the markets have been super volatile, right? So, like, it's all about your investment timeline, right?
Yeah,
so
if you're 60, you're not going to be able to do it.
Exactly. You're our age. You're not concerned about where your money's going to be.
I would argue, though, that it's more important for the 60-year-old who's closer to retirement to make sure that he actually controls his funds than somebody who's further away.
Well,
you don't want to get stolen by your bank.
You don't want to put that Greece story, man. There were a lot of people that were in retirement or about to retire.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I would say that cryptocurrency and investing in cryptocurrency would be more of a chance. Like, it's a more risky investment than, say, the U.S. like taking your funds.
It's going to be diversification, right? Like, that's why your traditional portfolio managers or whatever the case scream diversification, because as the stats have shown in past 5-10 years, whatever the case may be, it's actually more beneficial for those that are getting ready to retire or have retired to hold a small portion of their funds in risky assets, because what you have then is obviously, the goal is for the interest on the principal money to be enough for you to live on month after month and year after year, and you not to have to spend that principal. But when you have, say, 15 or 20 or 25% of that money, whatever your manager there is comfortable with, when you have that in a riskier asset, if as that asset goes up, it provides more of that interest versus being strictly in something that is low risk, low return, where if you see a market-wide dip, now, okay, we have problems because, there's not enough risk and return there to provide enough interest to cover us in these dip scenarios in the traditional market, right? And you start having problems where, hey, we're low risk, low return, you'll be fine over 20 years or 25 years, whatever the case may be for retirement, but we're going to see 2 or 3 dips in this time, and we're going to have to dip into principal, right? Like, that's, as a portfolio manager, the goal is to never have to do that, and these guys have done that. They've looked at alternative methods and diversifying into these riskier assets. So, I mean, it'll be interesting too. Like, we mentioned at one point, I think it was you, Rob, of Bitcoin being a part of everyone's IRA, right? So when you think about that and how Bitcoin could go mainstream, or I think that the craziest thing, was it today that Robinhood came out with the announcement? Yesterday. So that's crazy to me too, because now you have on one single platform a variety of crypto investors who are going to potentially move to that platform for the, to avoid fees, but are also going to be exposed to all of this traditional finance now where they haven't before, So the thing that hasn't really come up in crypto is diversification yet, because it's almost always been green, especially for those who have only been in it for a couple months here. That's never been the thought. It's always been hodl. It'll just keep going up. But from a diversification standpoint, if you put $1,000 into some shit coin and it goes 15 times, yeah, okay, reinvest a little bit into a legit coin or another shit coin or whatever, but diversify. Buy some traditional stock or some bonds or whatever the case may be. Right. It's a safer route, certainly from a volatility standpoint, than crypto.
Right, certainly from volatility, but from like a counterparty risk perspective, is I guess what I'm talking about.
I would argue that, there's arguments on both sides though, because if you look at a dollar or a penny as a token, then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I don't understand this project at all. I have no idea where money goes, like where your taxes go, and you have no idea what the government is actually doing with the money. You have no idea who's printing it, really. You have no idea what their objects are. What you do know is that there are companies that can just digitize money in a certain way, and they can just take your money out at any time. It's like when I was talking about the other night, it's not your money. It's not your token. You don't control the token, actually. You don't actually own it. And the fact that they can burn it or create more at any time without announcing it means that there's actually more volatility than some crypto projects where they announce,
that's a good point,
we're going to burn some of it.
Well, I mean, that's like inflation is what the silent thief is what people call it, because most people don't understand inflation, but
it's
over
time,
silent tax, yeah, over time your money's just worth less and less and less. And we really don't know. It'd be interesting to see a circulating supply and a total supply metric for the dollar, because we don't really know how many dollars exist in the world. Like the IRS infamously quote unquote lost $1 trillion that they still don't know where it is. I think some other branch of government did the same thing.
The Pentagon.
Yeah, think about all the other money that was printed that they just never told us about, that went to some crazy project or went to some other side of the world. Like, the amount of dollars that exist in the world is probably far higher than we even know. So that's a great point. I mean, speaking about it from fundamentals, like it is a coin, it's probably the shittiest coin out there.
It is. And it's lost 97% of its value since 1917.
Wow.
And so when you look at it, it is everywhere. So that's your proof. There's evidence of its use case. But the value of it goes down, and we don't know. Like you're talking about, we really got to figure out this hard cap, soft cap thing. Mm-hmm. You don't know the cap. They don't have to
there is no cap.
And if you ask them, they point a gun at you.
Yeah.
It's the truth of the matter. And the real question is if this is the dollar that is transparent. I mean, any argument somebody makes against Bitcoin, make that argument against the dollar. Just repeat that argument against the dollar.
If
they
the
will not know
US
what to say.
dollar
That's a really good
was
point.
a cryptocurrency, let's all agree it would be a shit coin. So, like, is crypto really going up, or is the US dollar just going down?
Because the thing about it, a year from now, if you go to the grocery store and you tell the grocery store owner, like, hey, can I just, like, go on a shopping spree and then just pay you 2 Bitcoins? The guy will be like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Send me the money right now. He's not going to say no. So is your dollar really worth more than your Bitcoin?
Right. It depends on how you
It's
define
tough.
worth, I guess.
What kind of guy at a grocery store is going to accept Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's the
A
thing.
genius.
Yeah,
He would be a 50-cent genius.
Yeah. Like, if you took everything out of his grocery store a year from now, he would be happy to take the 2 Bitcoin. Because he can buy a whole new grocery store.
Oh, you're paying him ahead of time for the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The future for shopping.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
It's interesting, man. Like every generation, kind of, I'm a big like military history kind of history buff, and like every generation has their own battle in a sense to fight. And it's interesting that ours, I don't think, is going to be like a traditional war against like another country. I think our generation's battle is against banks. It's against government. We're the
Wow.
first generation that's really kind of is up against it, right? Up against these hurdles that we've never come across before.
That's a good point. And we're finally at the first time ever also where we have the solution, mainly technology, to actually like solve that problem or face the final boss. I guess if you
It's
want to
true.
call it
It's
that.
true, man. It's gonna be it's a big boss too. It'll
The
be
final
interesting.
boss to freedom.
I'm not sure. I think I was on the ICO Alert Twitter, and I saw one person we follow said the same way the internet unlocked information is the same way that cryptocurrency is unlocking money.
Wow.
And once it's unlocked, it opens up Pandora's box. But at the end of the day, it's kind of better that you can see some random, police officer in Japan, like, accosting somebody the wrong way. And like everybody can see it happening simultaneously. And we know what's going on rather than we don't know how people are treated or the injustices across the world.
Right. Imagine if the things happened in reverse. Like if all of a sudden if money got unlocked first or was attempted to be unlocked first, but we didn't have the freedom of information, I guess it wouldn't be possible. Because you need the freedom of information to even have a chance at beating this final boss.
Dang.
I'm very curious to know how strong that Irish Red was, because we finished
the whole thing.
We finished the whole growler, and things got very anarchist very quickly. Damn you, Peter!
Burn it down.
Yeah.
How strong was that?
I don't know. I didn't have any.
That was tasty. This is next time we need like some snacks or something. This is fun.
We can't chew it. No. Number one rule: you don't eat on the podcast.
It's just
I had that experience.
Burrito bag.
Yeah.
No, none of that. Just like some cheese or something, like a quiet snack.
Get out
cheese. Have some wine and cheese. Keep it classy.
So
Maybe that'll be
Rob's
episode
always
2.
down for the cheese.
Oh yeah, bring out the cheese board.
Some charcuterie for you, Zach.
Charcuterie podcast.
Oh my
I guess
goodness.
that's probably a good place to wrap that. I think we've been talking for well over an hour.
Wrap it up.
Let us know though in the comments whether you're watching this on YouTube or SoundCloud or you saw us posted on Twitter. Let us know if you liked this or if you hated it and you think it was the worst podcast you ever heard. The audio was horrible. Let us know too because we certainly want to know. We hope in the future to have multiple mics. We're all talking around one right now and we'll see what our podcast producer Zack Elkins does. He's kind of a wizard, so he should be able to make it sound good. But you want to say something, Kim?
Yeah, thank you for all of the users so far on our website, man. We just hit 1 million views for the month.
Awesome.
So it's been an awesome ride, man. Just thank you for all the listeners and thank you for
we've got a lot of fun stuff coming out. We just released our pre-ICO list, so those of you that have been using the ICO list to get in on these projects early, make a great return. Now you've got a full comprehensive list of pre-ICOs where hopefully you've made some money on those first ICOs you invested in, and now you can hit some of those minimum contributions in the pre-ICO and grab some of those bonuses. Those are our 2 investment tools right now. Obviously, we've got some other great ones coming out for you. We look to keep everything chugging along. So any comments you have, like Rob said, any suggestions, give us an email at team@ICOalert.com.
And we love our clients. Shout out to our clients.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The ICOs.
Absolutely.
Making it all possible.
Definitely.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thanks everybody for joining me, and hopefully we'll do this again. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I sincerely appreciate it. If you'd like to request someone to be on the podcast in the future, tweet us at ICO Alert and let us know. Most of our guests are requests from listeners just like you, so we review every single recommendation that comes through in our Twitter feed. We'll look at everything. So if there's a lesser-known project that you think we should cover, let us know. Maybe we'll have them on the podcast. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and be the first to hear our new episodes. And also, don't forget to check out ICOalert.com to see the only comprehensive list of active and upcoming ICOs. I'm your host, Robert Finch, and I'll be back next week with a brand new episode.